Hey guys, it's Core Ross and welcome back to the future of Siege. In this video, what we're going to be doing is going over when will Siege be dead? Because of course, I've had comments on my channel for years now saying that Rainbow Six Siege is dying. So when is it actually going to die? And before we get started here, I'm just going to say a lot of people have been letting me know that playing Siege, Apex Legends, Warzone has been affecting their mental health because they go up against like DDoSers in Apex Legends or Siege, they go up against cheaters in Warzone, and I just want to say, if your mental health is getting affected by a computer game, don't play it. Like, there's plenty of games out there you can go play that you can have a lot more fun with and you can really enjoy. So if a game is affecting your mental health, do not play it. So first off, I should actually explain my perspective on all of this, as of course I'm a content creator for Siege, but maybe a little bit unique in a way. So I actually decided to go full time with Rainbow Six Siege content right at the start. So it launched, I think it was in December, and I went full time with a YouTube channel focused on Rainbow Six Siege in January, which looking back at it was a dumbass idea, but for some reason it worked out. And the reason it was a dumbass idea is because Rainbow Six Siege launched, and I don't know if most people remember this, because looking at the Steam charts, most players that play the game now weren't around at the start. And that's probably because Rainbow Six Siege launched broken, unfinished, and just overall completely terrible. And it was not a good game. It was yet another one of those launched AAA titles that was terrible. And that is kind of my way of looking at the game industry these days. I am very jaded. I have seen plenty AAA titles come out that are just terrible, and every launch day I usually expect like servers to be down and stuff like that. So I'm usually pretty pessimistic, and it comes to the Siege as well. Like, I don't expect any of the major issues in Siege to ever be fixed. So stuff like sound issues, mouse and keyboard on consoles, none of that I ever think will be fixed at all. But of course I continue to play Rainbow Six Siege because I love it. Like, weirdly enough, it has major flaws, but it's also very unique. There's not really a competitor to Siege out there. Now, maybe there will be one day, and that might well be the nail in the coffin that does kill Siege, but for the moment, there's no game that fills the same kind of niche. And that's the thing. I have created a YouTube channel that has a niche that people come and watch for, and of course, Siege has its own little niche as well, that Ubisoft has been able to use that to make billions of dollars. And of course, I've also been able to make a full-time career out of it as well. Even though I'm of course not the biggest of YouTubers, like I don't put out videos and get millions of views. Like, I literally have 2 videos on my channel that have over 1 million views. One of them is a Fortnite video, and one of them is a Rainbow Six Siege video. And of course, I'm really happy if any of my videos get over, say, 20,000 views. Like, that's insane. I don't actually know why the hell you guys watch me. Like, it doesn't make any sense from my perspective, but people do for some stupid reason. But anyway, let's take this back down to the subject of this video. So when is Siege going to die? Well, we can look at how this game launched. It came in and had about 20,000 players on Steam at any one time playing it. Then it dropped down into almost 10,000 and below, and it stayed at that level for years. It only started to come up about 2 years into its life, where it started to hit 100,000. Then it has continued on from there, and it's had peaks, it's of course had dips, and so far it is still doing very well. Now, we know that in 2018 Ubisoft made about $500 million in sales of cosmetics for the game, and considering the numbers after 2018 stayed up, we can assume that the game is roughly making about 400 to 500 million every single year. That's not including the income they're getting from the Pro League, which is very, very lucrative as well. So Ubisoft is continuing to rake in the money at an incredible rate. And you might well be commenting on this video right now saying that the game is dying, while Ubisoft is making millions per day on the game. Now, of course, Rainbow Six Siege is going to die. Like any computer game, it will eventually get replaced by either a sequel, or it'll get replaced by something else that is better from a different publisher. This is just the way it works. Like, games will always die. So again, if you're commenting on this video saying Siege is going to die, you are correct, because it will one day die. Now, let's put a time frame on this. So I kind of see Siege a little bit like Counter-Strike. And if we take a look at Counter-Strike's Steam numbers, they absolutely dwarf Siege massively. Now, there's a reason for this, because of course Counter-Strike is mostly on PC and on Steam, so that means what we're looking at here is pretty much the true value of players that are currently playing Counter-Strike, whereas we can't see that with Siege because we also have the console player base and of course anyone playing on Uplay as well. Now of course we could compare Rainbow Six Siege to other FPS games like Call of Duty or Battlefield, but those games have a new one out every year or every 2 years. Now of course Battlefield did take a bit of hiatus after 2 very bad launches. Now they're back hopefully with a good game. But those games are certainly about replacing the previous one, although we have seen a shift. For instance, Call of Duty with Warzone is going into that games as a service style and going to support it probably for something like a decade, but actually moving it from game to game. But going back to CSGO, this is how I kind of see Siege. It ticks over continuously with its little niche gaming market. And like CSGO, I think it will just continue to tick over. Now, I don't expect it to do amazing. Like, I don't think Siege is going to grow. I think we've already seen the peak. And I would be seriously surprised if it ever broke its current peak, which happened earlier this year at 200,000 players on Steam. I just don't think we'll ever hit that number again. Now, I could be wrong, of course, but I see Siege losing about half of its player base over the next 6 months. But that won't kill the game. And I actually don't think that will die in the next 5 years. I think it's going to survive a total of 10 years until it's replaced by Siege 2. And just to clarify, I do think that the player base is going to tank this year. Like I say, I am very pessimistic about the future of Siege, but it's actually still going to make Ubisoft plenty money. They're still going to take over pretty healthily with this for the next 5 years, even if the game tanks and it continues to be a buggy mess. Now, maybe Ubisoft won't even bother releasing a Siege 2 and they just continue Siege on into the future, which I think is a dumbass idea if that happens because it will always be broken. Hopefully they can try and make a new game that is less buggy, but I think that Siege is going to last about 10 years. We'll see if, of course, if that happens, and we'll see who in the comment section is correct. Actually, give me your end date for Siege, and we'll put the player base Steam chart thing on. Let's say the death of Siege is getting back to kind of its lowest numbers that it ever had. So that is 14,000 players. So let's say that if Siege reached 14,000 players on the Steam charts, which is definitely doable, then that will be the official death of Siege. And we'll see who in the comments is correct, because it could definitely get there in the next 5 years for sure. Like I say, I think it's going to shrink in player base size by about half over the next 6 months. But remember, Siege is still going to be making, even with those low numbers, about 100 million a year. So they're raking in the money for Ubisoft either way. Even if everything is done wrong and a lot of the player base leaves, there's still going to be that hardcore niche that will be still there, spending money on cosmetics. Of course, they've also got other incomes when it comes to licensing for the official merch. They're also got the Pro League. There is, even with them shrinking, it is still bringing in a lot of cash. It's amazing how much money is in those kind of industries. But like I say, I think it is definitely going to shrink by about half over the next 6 months, and we'll see if my prediction is true, and also I'd love to see if your predictions are true as well. Anyway guys, thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you next time.